Jungle Bob here. So this is going to be on breaking down a Honda Gxv160. It's got a broken drive shaft, but not on the outside. It's on the inside of the motor. So it's a little different. Most of the time they break where it hooks into the transmission, connecting to the output shaft on the motor. That's a CV joint right there, but this is internal. So we're going to take a look at breaking it down and see how that's put together inside. I've never done one of these before to change the inside drive shaft out, so might be fun. Stay tuned if you're interested. So this is going to be on a Honda HRC 216 K2, and the transmission quit working, and it didn't break where you might think. At least I don't think so, because it broke somewhere inside the engine. So we're going to pull the engine off and see what's going on. The drive shaft is turning when I turn the wheels, or at least the CV joint is, or whatever you want to call it. But when the engine's running, it's not getting any output from the shaft coming out of the engine. So we've already, I'll show you when we put it back together, but we've already we pushed this boot back, we've moved this clip out of the way, and we've knocked out the pin. There's a little pin that goes right there. So, and then we came around to the other side. We've already taken off the blade, excuse my finger, the blade and the clutch, and now there's 4 bolts, 4 engine bolts. We're going to take those loose and pull the engine, drain the oil, and then we're going to take the engine apart and see where it failed inside. So stay tuned. Alright, so as you can tell, we've got the engine off now. Now look at this drive shaft. It just comes right out. It shouldn't do that. It should go and connect on the other end to a gear, a drive gear, and there's a locator pin that's supposed to go through there. So the guy said he heard a snap, so I'm guessing what happened is that locator pin broke somehow or another. But we're going to have to take it apart to find out. And so let me get the oil drained out of it, get it flipped upside down, and we'll start taking the sump cover off. Alright, so now we've got all the oil and gas drained out. And we're going to address taking this clutch off next, the rest of this clutch. 3 bolts here. They're spring loaded, but I don't think they're very high compression. So there was a Allen key too that you don't want to lose. So we're going to take these 3 bolts off next and then see what happens. These were 10mm bolts. There's 3 of them. They got springs around it. And now I would suggest that you start paying really close attention and taking pictures. Get you a Ziploc bag or something and save all your parts. So that comes off, and then this plate lifts up just like that. And then underneath here, I don't know if you can see them, but there's 3 ball bearings and a plate. You don't want to lose those. Put them in your Ziploc bag. It only fits on one way. There's a groove here. And now this piece here should come right off. There's 2 springs on each side that attach to it that have there's a 10mm bolt here and one there. We're going to loosen that up and see if we can't get this off. And then I'll get back with you about the sump cover. Take those bolts off. It's got a little spacer that goes there. You don't want to lose those. Just took me a little rubber mallet and start banging on this all the way around. Like so. And it's coming off. Got a bearing in here. That bearing's good. So you might want to remember how you this came apart, I just lay it back together like it was. Put it in a box somewhere. There's a washer that goes there. Don't forget about that. I'm gonna drop that in my bag. And then it looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sump cover bolts. And I think they're 12 millimeter. Let's be sure. They are. We're going to break these loose and then we'll get the cover off. Doing this, all these sump cover bolts came off pretty easy except for this one right here. It's pretty stubborn. You don't want to snap these, so I'm going to take me a little heat. I'm going to heat this up a little bit and see if that doesn't help free it up, because you do not want to snap one of these at all. Make sure you don't have any gas laying around. Try it. It probably doesn't need a whole lot of heat. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of heat. See if it won't come loose now. Do not want to snap it. It's moving a little bit, but I can't tell. So now we're going to go back the other direction. Keep wallering it back and forth till you get it loose. Fortunately, I snapped it. But the good news is it snapped below the sump, so when I bang this out, I'll be able to get it out. And we'll just have to put another bolt in it. No biggie. It could have been worse. So now let's get this cover off. We'll start beating on it again with the mallet here. Be careful. Don't want to break anything. I'm going to keep on doing that all the way around until we get it loose. So we got it loose. I'm going to pull it out. This is the sump cover. And if you look in here, there's where that drive shaft goes through, and it was just pulling out. And that's that gear I was telling you about. Right there. So this drive shaft is supposed to go all the way through, and that pin is supposed to lock it in place, lock this gear in place. I don't know if you can see that, it's on a spline. So when this pulls out, there comes your gear. And that slides back in. And you can see right there. That's where that locator pin is supposed to go. So it would go like this. Put that through. Line this back up. You gotta get it on the spline though, and then you push it through, and you can just turn it till you can line that, put that pin back in. Now the trick is, where did that pin go? So we're gonna look in the bottom of the engine here and see if we can find the pin. There's a couple of washers. I got to figure out where they go. I think they go on both sides of the gear. So we're going to look into that. I'll be back. Guys, so I found an old sump cover I had that came off an engine that you can see. This thing was still running, but if you look down in there, look right there. I don't know, can you see that right there? And over here. I don't know if you can tell, but that connection rod's broken off, broken in half. But it was still running. It's clanking around a lot, but it was still running when I took it down. Anyway, this is how this is supposed to go. So you got your shaft that runs through here. It goes through this hole here. You got a washer on this side of the gear. You got a crushed, well, then comes the little clip that broke. And I'm about to show you. I found it. It's just a clip See, it spins around that little clip right there. And then you got a crush washer that goes behind that. And that's what keeps this in place. And as the crankshaft is spinning the camshaft, this works off the camshaft gear and turns the transmission. Called an output shaft. They call it a drive shaft in the parts look at. So we're going to replace the shaft, the gear, both washers, and the pin in the old one. And that should take care of that problem. So hopefully that'll explain it a little better. But yeah, man, this one's bad. I'm surprised it was still running, but look down in there. You see how it's separated right there? Oh, you can see it. Trying to get you a shot of it. Right there. Anyway, so that's it, guys. The pin, but I went to look at the parts diagram, and I noticed this laying up in here. So you take that out, it's a clip. It's a cotter clip, kind of like a cotter key. Can y'all see that? And it's in pieces. So that would go through that hole to hold that on. Anyway. So that's what broke. That's why the transmission quit going. So stay tuned for part 2. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe. We'll see you on part 2.